Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Johnny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. It's Friday, it's 5pm, and I think that tonight we should all pour one out for Qingdao's PR team.
Oh dear.
Who must be going through, I would say, the toughest week of their career.
Expand on this, Johnny.
Have you not seen the news? If you Google beer,
yeah,
now it's the first thing that comes up.
I'm literally going to Google beer, just beer.
Yeah.
Beer. I get a Wikipedia entry.
Oh, maybe you need to click news.
Beer news. Okay, we're doing it. We're doing it live, Johnny. This is exciting, isn't it? Beer news, beer today, British beer news, The Independent.
What?
Oh yeah, the Guardian. No, top stories. Guardian. Tsingtao beer loses its fizz in South Korea after video of. Wow. Oh wow, video of it. That is great.
So, to those that haven't seen the news, there's a video that went viral of a worker at Qingdao, a brewery in Qingdao in China, which I've actually been to, taking a piss into a giant vat of grain.
Wow.
Which has obviously made some people a little bit nervous about what's going into Qingdao beer. And also, unfortunately, confirmed all the people that go on to our videos and other people's videos whenever we talk about macro lager, saying, "Oh, it's just piss."
Who's
so
filming it here? I'm watching it live, Johnny, as we're going.
Yeah,
I've been in a dark room most this week, so as I said, I've had really bad headaches. But this has passed me by. He turned away to have a piss away from the camera, which is interesting. It's almost like he was aware.
Well, he's weeing against the wall of the trailer, I think.
Right.
That's how I read it, not him. I've got so many questions about this video. So obviously, clearly, for some reason in South Korea, this backlash seems to be worse, and that's what all these stories are dwelling on, where like sales have dropped 26%, I think it is. But so some questions. Firstly, somebody is filming that. That's not CCTV or anything.
No.
Which makes you think, is this staged? Obviously not by the brewery, but by the workers in some kind of protest.
Yeah.
Secondly, he's outside. Now,
why is it outside? Why is it stored open top outside?
Well, surely it's like spent grain, or it couldn't be spent grain because he'd just sink through it if he stood in it.
It'd be in a silo, wouldn't it? If it was like
but why is there no lid on the silo? There's
that's
vegetation.
Not a silo, is it? It's just that's just. It almost looks like a train or the back of a truck or something.
Yeah.
How do we know that's Tsingtao? Because there's no branding anywhere. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but that could be anywhere. Surely that could be anything.
I think you're playing conspiracy theory. Who do you think's behind it, Brad?
Oh well, Tsingtao did bung me a couple of tens of thousands of.
Did they?
I don't know what the no. I don't know what's the currency in China. I should know that. I've never been though. So. Yen. I've absolutely ran my pants with yen. To become on as a mouthpiece, Johnny, for big macro pissy lager.
Well, I have already. They flew me out business class.
They did.
to their Oktoberfest. So if anybody's going to shill for Qingdao, it should be me.
Can we give it a bit of context, Johnny? This wasn't like last week. How many years ago was that approximately?
This was 2016.
We hadn't like transitioned to you being full time at that point, so
No.
you were like kind of dead excited about going, but also like it's probably going to be shit.
Well, I mean, I just wanted an excuse to go to China to see what the craft beer scene was like, and to see what they called Asian Oktoberfest. And both were quite the experience, as our video will show. I mean, the beer of Qingdao is fine. It is what it is. It's a rice macro lager. They also had an IPA because the owner of Qingdao, sorry, not the owner, the MD who I met, MD of the second biggest brewery in the world. He loves British cask ale. So after his last trip, which was a couple of months before we came out, he came back and insisted that the brewers make a trial batch of IPA on their pilot kit. Now, the pilot kit at Qingdao is, I want to say it was 100,000 litres.
Wow.
So, yeah, a big old, bigger than most breweries in the UK. Was made of this this perfectly decent English style IPA, which we then drank together, and it was nice. It didn't taste of urine, nor does their normal beer.
Liters did you drink of it? Do you reckon with him? Was it an awkward drink? Did you stare at each other while you were drinking it? Was he staring you out?
It was a very quick drink because, as you may remember from the video, Gambe. Which is cheers, or Gambai, I can't remember now, it's cheers, but it's also finish your drink, or do your best to finish your drink.
That is
so if you
peer
cheers,
pressure to the max, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
That's
you'd think
crazy.
that the Chinese people would treat that word with respect, but they don't. Or maybe they don't when tourists are involved. They just bandy it around and get a load of beer writers and travel writers exceedingly drunk on their first night in Beijing. But I'd question this video. I think either it's a stitch-up job by the person in the video and their mate, or it's not what's being reported. The tank is not what's being reported. It could be a lorry that's come in with the grain, but why isn't there a lid on that?
Also, why is the footage so grainy? In the age we live in...
Well, I presume that's because it's well zoomed in.
Smartphone.
From the camera shake, that would imply it's well zoomed. It's a digital zoom.
But I mean, I could create a digital zoom. It looks almost like it's shot through glass or something. There's a funny bluey distortion top half almost, but top left certainly, which is very odd. There's almost some shadows, reflections, not shadows. Sorry, it's either that or they're filming through like a barbed wire fence or something, deep cover style. And it's blurry, out of focus, because it's at a different like a way different focal point. There's something incredibly blurry, top left, and even around the bottom as well. Johnny, I follow an Instagram called Spycraft1. I think it's called Spycraft 101, and it documents all kinds of activities by different security services around the world over time. So there's lots of stuff about, North Korean micro subs that have tried to invade South Korea with dudes on beaches in like little frog suits and like weird machine guns and stuff. And then stories of like that mathematician analyst guy in the UK that they found in a bath in a suitcase, who was apparently a bit kinky. But he'd been locked in a suitcase and suffocated. Do you remember that? Remember that in the news? It's all stuff like that.
Yeah. Where's this going?
Well, maybe this could be like a sort of a counterintelligence op by a different state trying to destabilize the core of China, Tsingtao, and take them down.
I'd say it's probably Snow, which is the biggest brewery in the world, biggest competitor of Qingdao.
Right, that's it. We figured it out, Johnny.
There you go. So
surely, like, it was a lot of effort to jump into that. You can see how high up that thing is. Why
Yeah,
not
I
just have
mean,
a
it
piss on
is
the
a
outside of it?
protest. It's definitely, it's not like, oh, I need a wee, here's a good place. It is a protest
Yeah.
of some description, whether it's Snow paying a guy or whether it's um, him protesting the working conditions or whatever it is. But either way, I'm suspicious of that being grain that's about to go into beer.
The more I'm looking at it, Johnny, I can see. Obviously, I can't read Chinese, but I can see it's the entrance of a giant loading bay, sort of factory, and there's loads of stuff stacked up on the
Yeah,
right.
cans or something. Yeah.
Yeah, there's two other giant lorries kind of in front of it. I'm guessing the red things. I'm looking at a very low resolution thing here. So it could be there were lots of people milling about below, and he was told that he had to go up there and do a grain inspection. Mate, we've been to places where they're supposed to put the like probe in to the grain to check it, and it extracts some of the grain.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any sort of like he was supposed to be doing something like that, but he thought he'd have a piss instead. Also, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, it could be if they have the maltings at the brewery, could be the grain going in then.
Yeah,
but once
yeah,
it's malted, that's a food product. You'd need to have
Yeah.
that in controlled conditions.
Have you watched this week, Johnny? Talking about so like I can imagine the labor conditions are horrendous at Tsingtao. I don't know, but they certainly are at Amazon. Did you watch the Uber butler? I think that's his name. Documentary he did about Amazon.
No.
And the drivers not being able to have a piss. It's great.
I mean, it's well documented that
Yeah.
they aren't given appropriate breaks.
So he he actually he got employed by Amazon at their big distribution center up north somewhere, or in the Midlands. Can't remember exactly where it was. He went undercover, like disguised his hair, and because he's got he looks like Boris Johnson. This guy disguised his hair and gave a fake name. Somehow he got through the process, but within a few hours of being there, they'd clocked who he was. I think it must have been facial recognition. They pulled him aside and said, "You bear a striking resemblance to this person." But anyway, his whole mission was to kind of find out the working conditions of the people in there. But when he got in there, it was crazy hot and all this horrible stuff going on. He got talking to everyone, and they were basically saying, we have to meet these quotas, these goals of how many actions per hour, otherwise we get reprimanded, we may lose our job, all this sort of stuff. And that was taken to an extreme with the drivers, who I think they have to do a delivery every minute and a half or something wacky like that. Crazy schedule throughout the whole course of their working day. And they don't allocate for piss breaks, but they also get fined if they do a wee within their vehicle. So when they come back to base, they're supposed to check their vehicles, and if they find any bottles of urine, they get fined points, Amazon points, Johnny. Anyway,
What do Amazon points win?
They win, you get sacked. I think if you get too many points, win, no prizes. They also get absolutely body scans to within an inch of their life going in and out, because nobody trusts them with all the stuff they're dealing with. But my point is, they're outside the surroundings of these places. There are strewn everywhere bottles of urine that they've chucked out the window before they go back into base. So once he was rumbled, he thought, okay, I've got a new idea. I'm gonna collect all of the driver's piss, the workers' piss, Johnny, literally the product of their labour, and then he packaged it up as an energy drink, and his mission was to get it to the Amazon suggested products within its section on Amazon. So I think he marketed it as an energy drink, lemon flavored energy drink or something, and he fucking did it. He got it to the top. Got it as an Amazon. They recommended it to people, and this maybe, Johnny, is indicative of the nature
It's coming,
of what
folks.
we
It's coming. The point is
as
coming.
consumers have done to everyone that works within this sort of service sector of producing stuff, Johnny. We produce digital things, Johnny, but people that have to like, deliver things to people that have to actually make things on a big industrial scale, they don't have the right to have a piss anymore. So maybe this is indicative of a person that is just wanting to have a piss, Johnny, and the only place that they're private, where they haven't got any time to have a piss, the only place they got any privacy, or they thought they did, was having a piss all over the lovely grain that they were going to use to make beer from. So it's a weird one. I have kind of sympathy for this person, but also it's like really gross and horrible. What would that? Do we think it would have any sort of impact to the beer? Because obviously it's going to get boiled and all the rest of it as it's brewed. Like really, like what is a little bit of urine going to do on that massive scale?
Well,
It's
I mean, on a purely technical level,
yeah,
what it's going to be, unless he really needed to go, it's going to be less than a pint into a batch that is presumably hundreds of hectolitres.
Yeah.
Which is then liquored back, because they're probably brewing to 6 or 7% and then liquoring it back to the strength that they need.
Yeah.
So that's then going into thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of bottles, or thousands and thousands of kegs. So it's going to have absolutely no impact on the beer that is also, boiled, then fermented, and then pasteurized. Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be less urine than you might get just, touching the flush of a loo.
True that.
But it's a deeply upsetting concept to have to consider.
It's terrifying and dark to think about that's happening, and it could be happening.
Exactly. That's why this story is so powerful, because it's like, well, we filmed one person doing it. What's stopping that happening 10 times a day? Is this like a little thing that they all do in protest or something? Anyway, with this podcast, I thought this was going to be a funny little aside before I got into what I really wanted to talk about, which is a more pleasant form of beer geekery. And I should learn my lesson that if I raise anything in this podcast, you will find a way to make it last at least half the podcast.
Just to make it last another couple of minutes, Johnny.
Oh my God, no!
His urine at that level, right, is akin to a homeopathic amount of stuff, right? So homeopathy, the sort of quackery that is homeopathy. My mum used to get me medicated with homeopathy as a child. I love my mum. She's brilliant, mum. But yeah, I used to be homeopathically treated, and that is definitely quackery. But it's all about like the less of something you have, Johnny, the more powerful it becomes.
Wow.
So it's like very sort of small particulate amounts of powerful, I guess, essential oils and all this sort of shizzle. In water, sugary water, becomes more powerful somehow. So I used to have like little drops of that and tablets and things. But it's almost like his piss is a homeopathic level of micro piss within what you're drinking.
Can you stop saying that word? Because
it's horrendous. It is horrendous. He looks like the man who's done that. He's done that before. That's not his first rodeo either, I don't think. I think he's well versed in that.
Okay, well, just to be clear to Qingtao lawyers, we are not asserting that there is always urine in your beer. We're also snow beer. We're not asserting that you are the root cause. No. Is there any other legal clarifications we have to make?
Well, this what I'm saying is all parody and what do you say when it's like a kind of sending it up? I guess parody. Yeah.
It's all, that's going to be our defense in court. It was all parody. More positive beer news for you, Bradley. Do you know what a proton transfer reaction time of flight mass spectrometer system is?
I know what a mass spectrometer is. Proton transfer flight mass spectrometer. Is that what you said?
Proton transfer reaction time of flight mass spectrometer.
Time of flight. Okay, so does that something to do with... no, I don't. But I could sort of probably try and awkwardly figure it out from all the words, but
Wh-
go on. Tell me, Johnny, tell me.
So this is a system that was built to measure how important beer foam is to the aroma of beer.
Hell yeah.
So
who's
been
built that?
Sorry?
Who's built that?
So it was done. It's a part of a academic study by Hirotaka Kaneda, along
Great
with
name.
lots of other names I'm not going to dare to pronounce on a podcast. But they have essentially proved as close as we can. You know, it's an academic paper that's been reviewed, peer reviewed, that beer head is vital to the creation of aroma in beer. So
Amazing.
essentially saying to anybody that likes no head that you're getting a slightly worse product as a result. But what's really interesting about this, I mean, I kind of already knew, because we talk about volatiles and stuff like that. You know, you feel like you need these bubbles coming up, they burst, they're full of aroma, it gets up your nose. Like, that kind of seems fairly logical, but wasn't necessarily proven until June this year. But what's really interesting is that specific aromas are more likely to come out in the head. So ethyl hexanoate and ethyl octanoate are the two compounds that they found most of, which is sort of honey and floral kind of character. And I forget what octanoate is, but generally it's you know, it's not really big citrus. It's kind of stone fruits and florals and that kind of stuff. So very, very important to certain styles, maybe a little bit less so to others. But the article also references the huge textural difference that it makes, but it didn't dive into that. So essentially, beer head is scientifically, for now, good.
Was this study paid for by Czech breweries or something?
Well, I mean, Czech breweries probably doesn't help them, because it's not necessarily the aromas that they're really looking for. Well, maybe honey. No, this was an independent article, not paid for, as far as I know, by anybody in the industries related.
Johnny, what was the lead scientist called? What did you say, Kaneda?
Hirotaka Kaneda.
That's a cool name. It took me back to the manga Akira, where the main protagonist is actually called Shotora Kaneda.
Huh.
And he's super cool looking. He wears like a sort of Michael Jackson-esque all red outfit, and he rides around on this incredible sort of lowrider futuristic motorbike. If you haven't seen Akira, Johnny, go watch Akira when you've written your book. Don't watch it before you've written your book. But
written my book, raised my child, then I might. I don't think I've watched a movie. Actually, I did watch a movie quite recently, but until that point, I haven't watched a movie for 2 years, I'd say.
So you didn't have time to watch Killers of the Flower Moon then? 3.5 hours. No.
I don't think I ever will. Or maybe
Dolby
I'll do it in 3 sittings.
Well, yeah. I saw it at a Dolby Atmos cinema the other day. Well, last weekend actually. It was pretty great. It's really good. I won't go into that though. So we should really talk about actual beer. But Johnny, before we do that, can I just say I've really enjoyed typing in to Google beer news.
Right.
And I think maybe we should have a sec. We should, if we ever want to do a bit more structure to these things, we could have a little.
Even if we wanted to, Brad, you know it wouldn't happen.
Oh, come on. We could have a little soundboard, right, which we activate, and it goes. We make a little lovely jingle that says beer news. Brought to you by
There it is. You've done
whatever, it. Right, beer news. It's done. You can use that on the soundboard. And then our mission every week, we just type in beer news into Google, and we talk about the top story without already researching it. We do that, and then we could also have a science corner as well, because I've enjoyed learning about that particle flight speed or whatever it was.
Particle flight speed, mass
spectrometer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Particle flight speed is a great expression. I think that sounds awesome. Sounds super fast, doesn't it? Sounds quite like quantum phasing fast. Like
sounds like
could
a
be
thing,
in two places
even if
at
it
once.
isn't. Yeah.
Do we think that quantum phasing happens in foam? Could the foamy particles be in two places at once? They're kind of like nowhere. Like everything it's connected, Johnny, and then the foam is what binds us all together. But the foam can also, it has a foamy nature, but also it's not there, but it is there, and it's undulating and foaming in and out of our realm into a different realm, Johnny. The realm of, imagine if there's a realm of just tasty foam, just somewhere. Like everything is.
Where's the Czech Republic?
A foam realm. It is actually. I'm right. Yeah, you are right. It is just the Czech Republic, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this week's video.
Yeah, go on.
Was about West Coast IPA, and specifically our collaboration West Coast IPA / Pale Ale with the wonderful Beak, one of our favourite breweries to visit, some of our favourite people.
Super nice people.
Yeah. I would say possibly my favourite collab from our birthday.
I mean, I loved everything about this collab from Danny, and all the guys at Beak are just wonderful, wonderful human beings. Super lovely people, super inviting, open to ideas, just absolutely, great at their jobs as well. I think they're like super dedicated people. I love what Danny was going on about getting that nectar.
Getting that nectar, yeah.
That is something I'm gonna try and embrace as I move forward in life. Getting that nectar, we can use that now as well. If Danny ever invites me into a group WhatsApp, which I doubt he will, but maybe you, because you are legit friends, you could talk about nectar with him, Johnny. That'd be exciting.
it'll be the first thing we talk about. Yes, so they're great at their jobs, not great at reading emails. So that's why the beer ended up more than 1% bigger than we were intending, and therefore kind of switched style. But I think that from the recipe that we've been slowly building via email, we had ended up with a very, very drinkable, balanced beer that then just got dialed up to, well, I was about to say 11 to 6.3. But what I love about Beak are my kind of brewery. Like I say in the video, like they make stuff that you just want to drink straight off the canning line while it's dripping in condensation, and it's as fresh as possible. That's pretty much everything that they make, and that's what I really look for in a modern craft brewery. And that always has to come down to being full flavor but incredibly drinkable, and that's what they've done so well with Dest, with all of their hazies, and I think particularly with their West Coasters. I think along with Burnt Mill, they're the best at making them in the UK. And I know I've not mentioned a name there that is the sort of the beer geeks hero and one of our greatest friends, but I do think that Beak, when they do them, are a step above. And as I said in our Instagram post, we should all be piling on Beak to make more of them.
Piling on has that sort of negative connotations, isn't it? But
it is. But I want a genuine pylon. I want them to feel the heat.
Yeah. Feel the heat of the embers. I mean, look, I guess for them, they have such success with the things that they make already, and there's such a demand for what they're making already. It must be hard to go, oh no, we'll do something. Well, no, actually, they do all sorts of beers, don't they, Johnny? I was going to say something stupid then, but yeah, West Coast is just fallen off the radar for a lot of breweries, I think. So it's so nice that both of our West Coasters both absolutely smashed it, I think.
Yeah, I was looking at their Untapped scores actually yesterday because I was intrigued. I wanted to try and work out which one scored highest. I don't need to tell you which one because it's obvious which one will have scored highest. Although we don't know the Omnipollo result yet because the kegs haven't been cracked, and we will let you know in that event when it is going to be. But obviously, the Verdun beer is rated highest. But next highest was the Beak beer at 3.96. Yeah. So just shy of the 4. And I would say that West Coast IPAs in the 4s are pretty rare these days.
Yeah, unheard of, probably.
Yeah, it's a bit like a lager getting up into the 4s. That's almost unheard of as well. So I think it's a really, really great beer. And just behind it, I think, was Siren with theirs. So the 3 IPAs Or actually, maybe the Baron one was third. But all the hobby beers came top, no surprise. But the fact that the two Westies did so well was very heartening. And I think we put together two very different but very tasty IPAs, which leads me to a comment from I Flanzy.
Oh, yeah.
Or I Flan Zai. Not quite sure. Anyway, I Flanzy says, I'm going to guess the reason for the confusion was when someone said they wanted to make a Westie or a West Coast, the default there is IPA. As far as I know, West Coast Pale isn't a thing. It's just a pale ale. Like Sierra Nevada Pale isn't a Westie, it's just a pale. So there is in beer geek and beer writing lexicon a bit of a debate going on about how we define. In New England, we're pretty sure we know how we define it. Things get confusing when either you hybridize what happened on the West Coast and the East Coast, and you end up with, say, Mountain IPA, which is like a drier, lighter, but still stone fruit estery-based IPA and high bitterness. And then you get over to the West Coast where you've got loads of different kinds of IPA, and whether they fall on a spectrum of West Coast, whether they fall on a spectrum of American IPA, whether they are entirely different things, gets a bit murky, ironically, because most of them are clear. But so I would say to iFlanzy and to everyone out there, West Coast Pale Ale is a style for me. I think that a West Coast beer should have robust malt character.
Yes.
But be hop forward, very clean tasting in terms of yeast, high bitterness, like the classic, what people I think would call an American IPA, or certainly would have 10 years ago. That's West Coast. You've then got the California IPA, which is probably closer to what our Siren one was. There was some Munich malt in there, but it was only, I think we landed on 4, maybe 5%. But it was a teeny bit hazy from the hop from big old dry hop. And it was, I would say the bitterness was a little bit lower than in the beak, and the body was a little bit kind of richer, and the aroma was much more stone fruity, floral, juicy. That's like a California IPA. The confusion comes when you talk about so Oregon has its own kind of IPA that I can't really talk about because I've never been to Oregon. I've never tasted the beers that some of my favorite beer writers up in Oregon talk about, such as his name escapes me, but Beervana blog. So it's all a bit confusing, but for me, West Coast denotes what IPAs were 10, 15 years ago, and California IPA denotes what it is in a post-New England IPA world.
Agreed.
And Mountain IPA, I'm not quite sure.
No, I'm not sure on that either. So iFlanzy said it should malt forward IPA using mostly traditional American sea hops for a classic West Coast. Do we think that's critical for it to be kind of West Coast, or do you think that's just like?
No, I think that's probably about the right definition.
Yeah,
but I just think where iFlanzy and I differ is that I think West Coast can be a pale ale, an IPA, session IPA, double IPA, triple IPA. It doesn't really matter what the strength is. The balance is going to change a little bit, but I think you can have West Coast of multiple different things. In fact, we now have West Coast Pilsner, which I still don't know how I feel, and we're going to do a video on that early next year. But I think West Coast is an approach to brewing.
Yeah, so it's like an intention, isn't it? It's to have that kind of those flavor components, that kind of recipe list in mind when you're making an expression of it. So it can be stronger, or it can be paler, and it can still be a West Coast vibe. Johnny, throwing up my gang signs right now. my West Coast. It can still be West, I think. Yeah, 100%. Doesn't have to just be 7%. It can be.
No. And that all these phrases are fluid, and they'll all change because there was a time when East Coast IPA was a thing, and maybe it still is, that kind of Goose Island like very amber coloured, nowhere near as hoppy aroma wise, but still quite bitter kind of thing, and that's basically been kind of sidelined now, mostly because the style as a whole has been. But we get very hung up on definitions, but the definitions are shifting all the time. New England IPA was what Heady and Focal are, and now it's nothing like those beers. So it's we shouldn't get too hung up on it. We just need to try and understand what people mean when they say it. But thank you for the comment. It got me thinking, got us chatting, and I think you're broadly right. The confusion simply came from the fact in the video that Robin just misread Pale Ale and saw India Pale Ale. And then was clearly confused by the ABV that I suggested and went, he's an idiot. Let's make it 6. Did you find any comments, Bradders?
Got a couple of nice, just little piffy ones. XL Bad Fish. I just realised I drank this the other day without knowing it was part of the channel. Really enjoyed it. I quite like the idea that someone that might watch the channel has just bought a beer because they like the sound of it and they know the brewery is going to be great. And they didn't even realise that it was anything to do with us. Then they've watched this, and then quelle surprise! They've had a great beer experience, and they had no idea that we were kind of involved in it. Then they've watched the making of it. That's nice. Would have been even nicer if you bought 2 of them, and or they have bought 2 of them, and they could have drank one while they were watching this. But it sounds like they'd already consumed it by the time of watching with their eyeballs. Davy Crockett said.
Davy Crockett?
Davy Crockett, yeah, he got
killed him a bar when he was only 3.
Killed in a what? Say that again.
Oh, it's the song they sing in America. Davy Crockett killed him a bar. I don't know why they say bar. It's a bear. Killed him a bar when he was only 3. Don't know why I gave that a West Country accent. Should have been Deep South.
I've never heard that song. I used to watch. I think I've watched David Crockett on TV when I was very, very young. But the song I know is Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Oh, what? And then it says something about killed in a bath. What did you just say?
Killed him a bear when he was only 3. One of the lyrics. So, yeah.
Killed him a bear when he was... Oh, right, okay. So that's like a later verse or something.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Learn something every day, Johnny.
There you go.
I always wanted one of those hats, the raccoon hats, but obviously it's...
I've been to where he died. Worn one of those hats.
Where did he die?
He died at the
the Alamo?
God, the Alamo. Yeah.
Oh, it was the Alamo, was it?
Yeah.
Fuck. Oh,
right. Yeah, he's buried there.
Oh shit. Okay. Wow. That wasn't there. Yeah. Okay, that brings us round to piss again because
no, it doesn't.
No, that doesn't. On the Alamo, didn't they?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't bring us back. Anyway. No. Back to the comments, Bradley. I never thought that Davy Crockett could bring you back. Oh my god. Come on, comments.
Can I just say that I really look forward to each and every one of your videos. Love learning and having a laugh at the same time. That's what we're all about, isn't it, Johnny? Learning,
laughing, and avoiding the word piss.
Yeah. Like there's that T-shirt idea, a terrible T-shirt idea that I've told you about the live laugh one, right? So I might do that at some point. But,
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
You give me these ideas and then I sit there waiting for them to go on the shop.
Okay.
Maybe we can do it for our... So we're thinking about the event where we tap the Omnipollo beer being a pills and pastry event. Because obviously we can't drink pastry stout all evening. Maybe your T-shirt, which we won't give away the concept of, could be made for that.
Could be. Yeah.
And
we'll
have to find a pastry version as well. Well, we've got the pastry one actually already, haven't we? Yeah, it's done. It's done.
And we might need to get some more of those. Oh no, we've got some left, right? We've still got some left.
I literally haven't done a stock count since the festival, so we'll.
All of the tie-dye ones have gone. I don't know about the others, but yeah, pastry. They were nice. Yeah, I loved Beak. I thought they were great as always. Meeting them again, lovely stuff.
There were lots of people in the comments that said the West Coasties were the stars. So Andrew Steer, 2 West Coast IPAs were the stars of the festival. Bruderach says, amongst some amazing collab beers, this was the standout. Simply superb.
Lovely.
This is my favourite of the 6 I got from Malt Miller. Smelled amazing. Everybody loves this beer.
It did smell amazing as well, Johnny. When I cracked one the other day to take a photo because we weren't that happy with the thumbnail, so I sort of reshot a photo in my living room to like amp up the embers of it by shining a light through the beer onto the can, so it was kind of glowing, artistic, Johnny. And as soon as I cracked it, I was like, wow, it does smell incredible. Like really, really beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Yep.
And obviously it tastes wonderful as well. Yeah.
Well, the two go in hand, don't they? If it smells great, it's usually going to taste great. Cool. Well, that's about all we have time for this week. We don't have a video next week because we are gearing up for a very, very ambitious video the week after. And I am actually in Copenhagen next week for my penultimate book trip. So I won't have time to finish it next week, and we'll have to work extremely hard the week after to make sure it's done on Wednesday. But it's going to be a great, very exciting video, sponsored video. So there was budget for a cameraman, so it looks great as well. Not that we don't make it look great, but even greater. And we're very excited to release that. But I'm hoping there'll be a podcast. I'm hoping that you and I can catch up while I'm in Copenhagen and still release one.
Yeah.
Because I should have some stories to tell from the archives of Carlsberg, and I'm going to visit all the restaurants around Copenhagen that are also famous for their beer. So hopefully, including Bar, which is set up in where Nobu used to be. Nobu used to be.
Don't put that through the business card. That sounds very expensive, Johnny. Not on the channel.
Why would I? It's not a craft beer channel trip. I definitely wasn't thinking of expensing everything to CBC.
It's super. I've not been. I really want to go to Copenhagen, man. Maybe we can get to go to the big beer festa there sometime.
Well, not until they sort their shit out.
Well, they have got to sort their shit out, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway.
I mean, it's cool. People say it's expensive, but having lived in London for half of my life, it's no more expensive than London.
Is that where Thingy Hobbit lives? What's his name? The
Thingy Hobbit?
No. One of the people we used to interact with a lot was called something Hobbit. And
Master of Hoppits.
Master of Hoppits. Doesn't he live there?
No, he lives in Denmark, but he doesn't live in Copenhagen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I won't be meeting beer tubers while I'm out there. It is strictly book, strictly work, strictly expensive. Strictly bookly. So if anybody's got any tips for Copenhagen, anything cool that's happened since I last visited in 2020, do let me know. Otherwise, hopefully there'll be a podcast next week, but no video, but hopefully a very exciting video the week after. And we will be announcing, in fact, I'm going to give it a chase today, when Pills and Pastry or whatever it turns into will be happening. It will be hopefully in November or early December, because I want to try this goddamn beer. I want to try Brad's breakfast so bad.
Dude, I know, me too, man. I'm so hungry for breakfast right now.
Yeah.
I've not been eating breakfast. I'm off my breakfast, Johnny. That's how much I want to try this beer.
You're just skipping breakfast in protest until the beer is cracked.
Yeah.
Lordy. Cool. All right. Well, clearly we're running out of steam here. So we will see you. You will hear from us hopefully next week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you don't think too much about Qingdao, despite our best efforts. And I hope you pour all your beers hard to get those glorious ethyl hexanoate and ethyl octanoate aromas from your beer foam. Love and beer. The Bubble and Friday 5pm podcasts are brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's craft beer channel. You can watch over 400 mini documentaries at youtube.com/the craft beer channel. And if you love what we do, support us via Patreon and get access to merchandise and our amazing Discord forum, a positive and welcoming space for everyone who loves beer, food and homebrewing. Love and beer.